Alright, to begin our conversation about the European Union, what we're really going to focus on in this lesson is looking at what supranational organizations are. And this is going to give us a precursor to the creation of the European Union. So we're going to look at some different organizations that exist that we would consider to be supranational organizations. So as we look at this, what is a supranational organization? As countries throughout the world interact with each other on a greater basis, globalism is supporting the idea of integration. So we have more and more countries that are willing to work with each other, that are working with each other on a much closer basis. All right, so integration is that process that encourages states to pool their sovereignty, so that's to pool their freedom, to pool their independence, to be able to pool their power, in order to gain political, economic, and social clout. So the idea behind this is if you're a strong country and you align yourself with other strong countries, that's only going to make you stronger and provide you with more influence throughout the world. This has led to the creation of supranational organizations, and these are unions of countries that work towards similar goals. And that's all it is. It's a supranational organization, or organizations that work together towards similar concepts. So not only is integration a major idea between the idea of a supranational organization, it is a big concept when we talk about the European Union. States are encouraged to pool their sovereignty in order to gain political, economic, and social clout. So that's what they are doing, is when we see this union of European nations, they are trying to be more assertive, they're trying to become stronger, they're trying to do these different things in order to make themselves more stable and to be able to insert themselves into things that are going on throughout the world. The EU is a supranational organization, so once again, a supranational union is a type of multinational confederation or federation where negotiated powers delegated to an authority by governments of member states. So all of these people, and we're going to talk about this in more detail later on, all of these countries that are part of the Union, they give up some of their freedom to a more overriding body that kind of looks at everything that's going on within those systems and provides a set of rules and things like that that everybody has to follow. Alright, so one of the first supranational organizations we'll look at here is the United Nations. In the United Nations, there were originally 49 nations that were charter members, and this was formed in 1945. Membership has grown to 192 nations. Membership is voluntary and has some power to force members to abide by organizational rules. So, what they deal with is they deal with peacekeeping, they deal with geopolitics, they deal with international relations, they negotiate things between countries and things like that, and that's really the main effort between this. And while some of these actions are binding, it's going to be more binding for certain countries than for others. There are countries that we're going to talk about that are part of the Security Council that are much more influential about the things that happen within the system and are much more likely to be able to kind of get out of some of the UN rulings, more so than some of these lower countries would. All right, the UN can request military peacekeeping force to go into areas where human rights are being violated. So they try and go through, they're members from different countries that go in and try and deal with some of these issues that are going on throughout the world, and they really are trying to make sure that the world is just a better place. There are countries that can override these peacekeeping missions and some of these other negotiating concepts and things like that, and they are called the Security Council. Now, there are multiple countries that are permanent members of the Security Council, and then there are other positions that rotate between other countries. The United States, Britain, France, China, and Russia are all permanent members of that Security Council, so they have a huge sway on what goes on within the UN. We also have the World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization was established in 1995 and has members who have agreed to a set of rules regarding world trade. And really what the basic function of the World Trade Organization is they help negotiate and implement new trade agreements, they settle disputes between countries, and they supervise members to make sure that they all follow the rules. So this is just an organization to make sure that trade that happens on an international basis is done so on a very free and fair basis. All right. Most major traders are normally involved. It can take 5 years to become a member, depending on the country, and countries can be denied entry because of human rights abuses or other such issues. So because you want to be part of this club, because you want to be able to have access to all of these other countries that are part of the WTO, you're going to be much more willing to follow the rules and, clean up certain things that happen within your own society. China was originally denied entry because of human rights violations. They were able to eventually gain entry into the World Trade Organization just because of the size of their economy and how much of a impact they were starting to have on world trade. Russia was denied entry all the way up until 2012 because of a lot of the illiberal policies that they have within their country. Iran is still not allowed to join the World Trade Organization because of their illiberal policies and a lot of the economic policy that they've put in place. But we'll look at that more in detail when we actually talk about Iran. The World Bank is another major supranational organization. The World Bank was created in 1944 to aid countries rebuild after World War II. Because after World War II, there's a massive amount of destruction throughout Europe. And the whole goal behind this is to make sure that they are able to rebuild themselves and still remain economically stable. Its focus today is loaning money to low and middle income countries with modest interest rates. So the whole goal of what the World Bank does now is to make sure that some of these lower developed countries, some of these countries that are kind of on their way up, that they have the ability to be really successful within the system. The main goals of the bank are to eliminate poverty and support economic development throughout the world. The bank also provides funding for programs to help combat disease and to complete AIDS research. There are also regional organizations that still work as supranational concepts. NATO is a huge one, and this is an organization composed of 14 European members, the US and Canada. And what it is a mutual defense alliance. So the idea behind this is that if one country within NATO gets attacked, that all other countries will come to their aid. We also have the Organization of American States. This group was created to promote social, cultural, political, and economic links among member states. There's also the Arab League. This group was founded to promote the interests of sovereignty in countries in the Middle East. And then you also have the Organization for African Unity, and this has promoted the elimination of minority white-ruled governments in southern Africa.